The first phase of the double-track railway project will be complete within 2 years or 4 years earlier than originally scheduled, said Transport Minister Prajin Jantong recently. The first double track would be able to allow a maximum speed of 180 kilometers per hour running. And the first meeting between Thailand and China on the dual-track railway project will be held between January 19 and 20, said Transport Minister Prajin Jantong recently. Another meeting will take place in February, and the engineering drawings could be ready in August. And meanwhile, Thailand and Myanmar agreed to next month resume the Joint Trade Commission for promoting closer economic cooperation and boosting bilateral trade. The two nations' leaders will chair the JTC meeting, the holding of which has been suspended for much of the year because of the transition to a military-led regime in Thailand. Deputy Commerce Ministry Apirati Tandraporn says the JTC is an effective mechanism for solving both countries' trade and economic problems and for fighting matures and well as tightening cooperations to facilitate trade growth. The agenda for the January meeting, which will be held in Thailand, is to exchange trade information and promote growth via trade activities, reduce duplicate customs procedures, and promote more trade and investment after completion of the second Friendship Bridge and 4-lane roads linked to countries next year. According to the Foreign Trade Department, cross-border trade with Myanmar was worth about 173.6 billion baht in the first 10 months of the year, some of 7.8% higher than in the same period last year.
As we take a look at the headlines here, very good news for Kun Chanan Pokaphan, especially as CP apparently now is expected to have a joint venture to acquire China's CITIC company. Now, according to a source, it hasn't been confirmed 100%, but Thailand's agribusiness Chanan Pokaphan Group and Itoshu Corporation are set to jointly acquire 10% of China's CITIC Company Limited for around $4 billion. The source further hints that they have the option of increasing their stake in the China State-Owned Investment Corporation to around 20%. When asked about the deal of Itoshu and CP, the companies did not give any comments on the size of the investment. But today, it is reported that Itoshu's board is holding a meeting to discuss the joint venture, or investment rather, as CITIC suspends is trading in the Hong Kong stock market. Meanwhile, Itoshu dropped by 3% earlier this morning, and this news comes as China's President Xi Jinping moves to support changes in the mainland's economy by including more private ownership of state-controlled assets. Last year, CITIC sold shares to 27 investors, including the CP Group. Itoshu, Japan's third-largest general trader, whose investments include fashion-branded clothes, food, logistics, and mining, is expected to gain access to a range of Chinese markets from the deal.
So in Thailand, I think that there's several major sectors that Australian companies should and can be focusing on. One of the most important is to recognise that Thailand is a very big manufacturing power. Thailand is a global power when it comes to electronics manufacturing, food processing manufacturing, and the automotive sector. The one that's been most important to Australia to date has been automotive. There are about 20 Australian companies who are active in the sector in Thailand, and they become part of regional and global supply chains to provide products, components, to the automotive assembly industry in Thailand, which is about 11 times the size of the industry in Australia. So when you think about the development of an opportunity which is much greater in this part of the world, in the ASEAN region, based in Thailand, than what it is in Australia, then it makes sense for those companies to consider coming to Thailand because they have access to a much greater market. It's not been about closing facilities in Australia and offshoring those jobs. It's been about accessing a bigger market through these regional and global supply chains. The Thailand-Australia Free Trade Agreement, or TAFTA as it's called, has been in place since 2005. And since that time, we've seen almost a doubling of bilateral trade between Thailand and Australia. Not all due to TAFTA, but certainly it's had a very significant effect. And we've seen, when you go to a supermarket in Thailand, you'll see Australian produce on the shelves. You see Australian beef and lamb, fruits, vegetables, cheeses, a lot of dairy products. That trade has been greatly facilitated by TAFTA because it means we have preferential rates compared to most of our competitors from the US and Europe. So that's been a great facilitator and continues to be a great facilitator of increasing trade opportunities for Australian companies in those sectors. Two things that the Australian government can help with in Thailand for Australian businesses. The first one is what we call our badge of government. The presence of Australian government officials in meetings is greatly valued by the Thai side, by business and government people. And secondly, English language is not widely spoken. English is not widely spoken in Thailand, so that's also a great facilitator to have local staff to interpret in those meetings.